Hey, it's Andre here. I wanted to take a second and talk about what we just saw in the previous video. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, wow, style components are really cool. While others might be saying, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. We've just made things so complicated. And this is important because moving forward in our course, we're going to talk about these advanced React topics like style components, like Redux sagas, like GraphQL, Context API, hooks. And all of these advanced topics are advanced because they come with trade-offs, with pros and cons. And when you learn about something like styled components, which is such a new and different way to think about CSS than what we had before, it's really easy for us to say, I hate it, or I don't like it. And what I found in my career is that when I think like that, when I immediately have a knee-jerk reaction and say, I hate this, or this is ugly, most likely that means I don't understand it enough. Now, with that said, I actually don't like styled components. And this is just my personal preference. But there is always pros and cons to using tools. So as we move through the course, I want you to not immediately decide that you love this or you hate this. Instead, start to notice the pros and cons of each. For example, styled components have some really interesting concepts that Ihua mentioned about that really help us make sure that we keep all our components and what the component is concerned about in one place in our JavaScript. But at the same time, we notice that it adds an extra layer of complexity. If you're working on a large team and you're in charge of that project, and you decide to bring in styled components or any other tool that we're going to talk about throughout the course, you have to think to yourself, is this overhead, is this extra complexity, extra knowledge that my developer team needs to learn, is that worth it? Are the trade-offs worth it? Because as we make our apps more and more complex, we make it harder and harder for people that are joining our team or looking at our code to understand what's going on. I love keeping things as simple as possible, but I also understand that as applications grow, you need to perhaps add a few libraries, add a new style, add a new architectural pattern to make it less buggy and more extensible. So always think about trade-offs. That's why there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to these advanced topics. Really good developers, senior developers, are good because they're able to make these judgment calls, not necessarily jump on the trendiest library, do the hippest thing that everybody's talking about. They can think about pros and cons on each project, each situation, and make the right call. So start to notice these things in these videos. Let's get back to it.